Good evening, YouTube. It is 9 p.m. in the great state of Texas, and we are doing my most ambitious project that I've ever made. So if you guys have been watching my channel for any amount of time, you guys know that I do mostly bowls and a couple of tables. I built a bench, not a whole lot of extravagance to the things that I make. So in this project, I'm going to build the most ambitious desk that I have ever built. And I've never built a desk before. So just to start the video, I just want to say this is not a desk in the traditional sense. This is more like a large tabletop type of project that has desk legs on it. So somebody at work wanted me to make them basically a desk, and the desk that they have is basically just a tabletop with some legs, but they wanted it to be kind of unique. So I decided, okay, I don't have the money for expensive black walnut or other type of wood. So what did I do? I went to Lowe's, picked up some boards, and we're basically going to glue those together, plane them, if I can turn the planer on first, and then try to make something really cool out of this. So you guys have seen me build some other benches pretty much in the same way. So all we're doing is we have, I think these are 4x4x2s, and we're going to plane them down. We're going to get everything kind of leveled out, and I've learned from my previous mistakes that the big thing is just don't try to get too fancy. And I think that's going to be one of my hangups in this project is I try to go too fancy with it toward the end, but I'm an amateur and this is all part of the learning process. And looking back on this video already, I've realized, I picked up the right boards. Usually I have 2x4s that I use, but I'm going with a little bit bigger boards here, as you guys could see from the beginning of the video. But same glue up. I did not use the joiner when I made this desk because I don't know if my joiner is off or it's probably more than likely user error. I know not working, but like going to Lowe's and working with the project wood that you get there, it's like the lowest quality stuff that you could possibly imagine if you've ever gone to Lowe's or Home Depot and you go to the project wood area, and it's wood boards that are wonky and warped, and you just sit there trying to get through an entire pile of wood only to find like 2 or 3 boards that are straight. So I picked out the most straight boards that I had, and instead of jointing them, I decided, okay, they're close enough. I know how to fix those gaps. I'm not going to worry about that too much. So got everything glued up here, obviously, and now we're just going to take that out and we're going to do the rest of the project. So once we finish with that portion there, then we go to the hand planing section. So this is a brand new tool that I just got. It's just a Craftsman planer, and boom, I don't know how to use it because obviously I just took a giant chunk out of the corner there. And dude, I was totally bummed when this happened because I was like, so far the project was going well, and then I take out a giant chunk, which I didn't have time to fix. I mean, I could just putty it up, but I was like, nah, that'll just have to be the bottom. So what I ended up doing was taking some practice strokes with other pieces of wood that I had laying around. And yes, feel free to roast me in the comments about practice strokes, practice passes using this planer. And I had bought a planer for another project that I'm going to put out for next week, but man, this is just way easier for me. A hand plane that's electric, that has a cord and not a battery. This one was way better than trying to hand plane. So this was my brilliant idea to kind of fix these little gaps that were in between the boards because I didn't use a joiner. Essentially just taking them and making my own wood putty and just getting them in the crevices, trying to fill those as best as possible. And again, the person that wanted this desk said they wanted something rustic and something that looked used. And believe me, I am really good at making those kinds of projects because this one definitely looks used. I'm looking at it right now in my workshop and I'm like, man, that looks ancient. But got everything glued up, came back like 15, 20 minutes later and just took a scraper and just scraping off all that extra glue there that was just getting in the way essentially, and just trying to pick up as much of that as possible so that we can get to the sanding. It's going to get a little dark in the video because in Texas it gets dark just like all across America probably at like 3, 4 o'clock, and I'm trying to get as much done while the light is out. So that's the reason for the low quality lighting in the video, obviously. Not that my videos are ever really high quality, but this is definitely a reason why, because working in the winter time, trying to use all that light that you can as possible, but getting everything just scraped up here. And then we do my favorite part, which is the sanding. Obviously, we're going to spend a lot of time doing that, but we're going to skip through a lot of that. You guys know I just did 80 grit on the table. I didn't do a lot of other grits for what I wanted to do. I could have, but I'm just like, man, I'll leave it alone. So then we get to the routing portion of it here. And this is probably my most favorite part because this one makes it look a little fancy. I think now that I know how to route tables a little bit, this is kind of one of my favorite things to do because I'm like, hey, I'm taking these boards and making them into something a little bit cooler. So we're just doing that all across, getting everything, you know, just nice and even. Then we're going to flip the table and pretty much do the same thing on the other side there. So once that's done, then we just get everything cleaned off, and then we're just going to hit it with some pre-stain because working with pine, these are pine boards if you haven't figured that out yet. Not very fancy, and you got to try to jazz up this wood as much as possible. So you're trying to take something that's very low quality and make it into something a little bit, I don't know, more unique, I guess is the best way to say that. So just covering that all over the table, and we're going to come and hit it with some stain. But first, we are going to burn the bottom of the desk here. And I could have stained both sides, but I think this just works a lot better. So just staining the bottom of it, I think, you know, there's no sense in doing the entire table, or at least I don't, if we're just going to use the top of the table for most of the stuff. So bam, getting that all stained or burnt. And then we're going to flip it over, and then we'll start our staining process here in just a little bit. And we're using a very dark, I think this is dark walnut that I'm using. Yeah, that's what it is. And just getting that all over using a rag. Not, you know, the greatest technique, but this is what I usually do in most of my projects, and it turns out great. So feel free to come to me in the comments about how this is not the right technique. I do enjoy the feedback, but you know, sometimes as an amateur, you just do what you want to do, I guess. And then this is the mounted desk portion here. Not going to bore you with the assembly of this, but this actually went pretty well. So a couple of minutes later, there's Murphy. Say hello. And then that's the desk that it's going to be mounted on. So then we're going to hit it with a polyacrylic, and yes, I'm going to use a foam brush, which apparently is the most taboo thing to do in woodworking according to the internet. So getting this all just all over to kind of seal the table, and then we'll come back and finish up the table, and bam, there it is. So now we are ready for our mounting portion. So I wanted to do threaded inserts, and oh yeah, I forgot this part. I'm gonna hit it with some lacquer. There's that West Texas wind just, you know, getting it everywhere, and me trying not to inhale this stuff. But I'm using threaded inserts for this project for the first time ever. Super ambitious because I'm like, I see all like the pros using like threaded inserts and everything, and here I am just marking where everything is going to go on the table, and man, did I just screw this up tremendously. And we'll get to that in just a second. But here I am drilling these things down, going bit by bit, piece by piece, and trying to drill these holes. And you know, for the most part, I experimented a little bit with some other boards, and it went really well. However, I did not learn my lesson that you have to have everything lined up absolutely perfect. And I would say 75% of the inserts went in with no problem. And then I started to get stupid, and some of them are kind of crooked or diagonal, and that completely messed up the table. So you'll see here in just a little bit, here's me trying to put some inserts and the board's cracking. But man, I figured it out, and this is what the desk looks like once it was all finished and done. But really happy with how this turned out, and one of my better projects. I'm really happy with it, but hope you guys liked it. Hope you got something out of it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, peace.